I'm working on the building. It's a true foundation. I'm holding up the glass. I'm working on the building. It's a true foundation. I'm holding up the glass. I'm working on the building. It's a true foundation. I'm holding up the glass.
Welcome to another episode of the Under Construction Podcast, where we have multiple conversations on different topics varying from self-improvement, spiritual alignment. We're getting after it. Today's conversation, interesting one. Today we'll be discussing what does it mean to be under construction to you. But before we get to that, let's introduce the crew. First we have KJ, Cordell, AJ, and I'm T-Dub. Let's jump right into it, fellas. What does it mean to be under construction to you? Cordell?
To be under construction is the process of building something.
Yeah.
Or rebuilding something,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's not always a new house, but it can be I'm just using house, but whatever you're building, it can be a new house or you can be renovating.
Mm-hmm.
So under construction, that means it would be, that's what under construction means to me. So working to get to a finished product.
I like that. KJ, thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for me, when I look at it, I just look at it like the process of building. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, so if we're using the analogy that our show's titled under,
Mm-hmm.
it's not just land that's just there. It's not barren. It's not stagnant. So me just sitting on the couch, not doing anything, is not the same as me actively submitting resumes,
Right.
putting in applications, actually actively trying to get the job.
Mm-hmm.
And even if like you're a faith-based person, and if it's praying for it or whatever the case that you have to do in order to complete the process of trying to get there, you're under construction. You're getting towards what you want in the end goal. You know what I mean? As opposed to like,
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here. I'm not doing anything. That's not.
So for me, I'm hearing that depending on what you're working on, it always takes work, right? There has to be something. In order to get something, you have to give something or do something, right?
Yeah.
So I like that. I like that component. AJ, what about you?
For me, under construction just means I'm a work in progress. Like there's some things I'm working on, some things God's working on the inside. Sometimes God is trying to pull the best out of me. So just like a construction worker would do, or a person that reads blueprints, I can't think of a contractor, or just how they would look at a building or the land and to decide, all right, what can I put here? What do I want that kind of goes into this thing that I'm trying to build, or what's important that needs to be in this place? Or because like there's little things that a construction worker would look at and say, all right, this needs to be here. And this needs to be here prior to other things. Like they might need running water so they can wash things. They might need electricity so they can use their power tools. Like certain things may have to be established first while you're building. So under construction just means like we got work to do. That's cool.
Amen.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, under construction means something's incomplete, right? So whether that's moving into a new space and it's not meant to your specifications. So even sometimes being under construction can start with deconstruction, right?
Yeah.
Because you're following the wrong teachings, or you've been in the wrong environment, or you're growing up and you didn't have all the tools necessary to get you where you wanted to be. You might have to get away from some of those old teachings to get you to where you want to be, right? So sometimes under construction means starting by deconstructing some of the old things. So for me, it comes to a place of like something being incomplete, whether that's the person, whether that's a physical building, or the spiritual side of things, where we come into the world as sinners, right? We're born into sin, but we're not completely ourselves yet until we give ourselves or we surrender ourselves to Christ.
It's beautiful.
You know what I think about also when you're under construction, when something's under construction, it can't be occupied.
That's
like
good.
If you're getting your house renovated, you might have to stay at somebody else's house. And you can't utilize that space until it's actually complete.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a danger sometimes when we're under construction ourselves, instead of taking that time to allow God to fully develop what he wants to, and occupying and going back into spaces when you're actually not ready to.
Ooh, that's good. I
It's
like
not
that.
finished yet, you know.
Yeah.
So another aspect of being under construction, like to think of, like, if I think of like a construction crew, because we're the crew, you see that there's 4 of us. There's a lot of people that go into a construction crew. There's a foreman, there's a layman, there's a carpenter, there's an electrician, there's someone who might be running the water, plumber, excuse me, water and sewage. There's so many things and they all have their own specialty.
I like that.
Not to say that one is better than the other, they're all needed.
Yeah.
So the under construction could mean like, all right, I may be really good as a carpenter, but I may be lacking as an electrician. So I may hire a professional.
That's good.
To help me or to teach me something so I can do the work that needs to be done.
Yep.
So if you take that analogy and you relate it outside of the example of construction,
Mhm.
Yep.
it sounds like you're speaking to like a level of self-awareness.
Absolutely.
To know, you have to fully know yourself to know where there are lacks.
Right.
Or, you know, for lack of better words, like,
Mhm.
oh, there's deficiency here.
Mhm.
This is where I could use help.
Right.
You know, to hire a professional, it may be somebody needing to get therapy.
Right.
Yeah, I love
It
that.
may be somebody needing to get a personal trainer to work on the
Yep.
physical side
Right.
of them. Maybe somebody to be more cognizant of their health and get the right relationship with a doctor. There may be a lot of things that you need to be able to get on the road to being the best you. You know how we talk about living my best life? Like, yeah,
Right.
like,
Oh yeah.
like, so if your best life is here and you're here, in between, you're under construction.
Yeah.
Right.
So what do you need to get over those hurdles to be able to complete
I
that?
like that. What came up for me was the therapy component. When I was taking it outside of the physical, like a home or building a thing, when I think about building myself, sometimes you need somebody who can reflect back on you, right? Because we're built to see outwardly, right? And I'm not always able to see inwardly, or I haven't developed the skill at times to be reflective and see myself.
Mhm.
So, having a therapist or someone who can show you your blind spots, right? Like I wish I was like a car, right? You know what I'm saying? You get that car in the blind spot,
Backup
it's like,
camera and all
Check
that.
engine light, come on.
be like,
Yeah.
bro,
Right.
there's something over there you need to pay attention to, right?
Right.
Like if we had that, life would be great, right? But there are times where you need someone outside of yourself to show you aspects of yourself that might be deficient, and not in a bad way. But if we only focus on the good, we're always going to be deficient in other areas. And I think, especially as men, we desire and we have a need to be well-rounded. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? So, because that's how we're going to be able to protect and provide and take care of our families, you know what I mean, eventually. So being able to shine a light on the deficiency so we can spend time and energy to bring those up so we can be a well-rounded individual as a whole.
I think also from a spiritual side, because we talked about the car analogy, talked about the backup camera. I brought up the check engine light. The Holy Spirit will give you those things. It'll give you a tap on the shoulder. Like whenever you feel like you're going through a scenario and you feel yourself slipping or you feel yourself sliding into something, like somebody cut you off and you like, maybe you've been practicing how you hold your tongue or bridle your tongue. So maybe not that you curse, or maybe you just like, yo, I'm gonna let them have it kind of thing. Like I'm gonna tell them what I've been storing up because I've been wanting to say this for a while kind of thing. But like the Holy Spirit will kind of be like, all right, this is not really the right space. That's not really the right thing to do. So that's kind of like your check engine light coming on real quick. And if you gotta be honest, some of us look at the check engine light and it's just another light. And some of us look at the check engine light and we go, ooh, I gotta pay attention to this. Maybe I should bring this to the shop. So basically the same thing with our spiritual journey, just so like when we get those notifications or if we get that tap on the shoulder, because sometimes somebody else notices it for you.
Yeah.
To your point of being in therapy, somebody else may be like, yo, your tail light's out.
Yep.
Like I don't know my tail lights out. When I get in the car, the tail light's never on. Like I never go to the back. I don't know how many people actually do what you're supposed to do from DMV or the RMV. When you get in the car, you put the emergency brake on, do an inspection, walk around your car, check your oil. I don't know a lot of people that do that before they drive. Like, it's what you're supposed to do, but I don't think people actually do it.
I think what's important to really acknowledge about being under construction, especially in your spiritual walk, you're under construction until the day you die.
Yeah.
like it never ends. We are never gonna be completed until we make it to see him.
Mm.
So it's always the reason I mention that is because someone that's new in the faith can look at me and think I am the finished work. When bruh, I might just be getting my foundation right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm.
Just still might be in the beginning stages. But to some people, they see what they think is a finished product, not knowing that, bro, it's a continual thing all the way until the end.
But I think it's also like, it's a continual thing, but it's also like, yo, if you think about it from your physical, like you have a house, right? You have a nice house. It looks good. But what you see on the outside isn't the same from what I know. I know there's a mold spot. I know that, oh, the pipes leak a little bit. Like, I know little things. Or I might just be like, yo, this house was good when I first started and everything was cool. Going back to your point of deconstructing, but my family might have got bigger.
Yeah.
I may need more space. I may need to renovate. Like what I've learned may put me in a place where, all right, this house was sufficient at the time, but now I need more.
Yeah.
Because I have, oh, go ahead.
You know what's important? It's not always need.
Okay. Want.
And I think sometimes, you know, like when we're talking about construction, like, you know what I mean? Like I think oftentimes as adults, as men, we're going to talk about what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I mean? Like sometimes you want something to be better.
Facts.
True.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I want better communication skills.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
Like maybe you're ahead of the curve and like you haven't completely failed at something, but you want it to be better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you have, like you said, you have a house. Like I know a lot of people that like, they go room by room for projects. And they be like, oh man, like I want to redo the kitchen.
Yep.
Yep. You
Then
right.
they want to redo the bathroom.
Mhm.
Then they want to finish the basement.
Right.
And I mean, like the way life is and all the other bills and expenses, by the time you finish, 10 years has passed, and now you back to the first thing.
Right.
Just like a construction crew when you see them working on the highways.
Mm-hmm.
By the
Right.
time they get to the end of State Street,
Time
almost
to
on
go
Boston
back.
Road, they back downtown.
Back downtown,
Starting it
man.
over.
Yep.
Like the work is never
Yeah,
done.
never done. Yeah.
Well, also because people are using it, and I think that's another thing that we got to like establish. Like under construction, to your point, when you're under construction, a lot of time you don't live in those same spaces, but sometimes you have a house that needs work, and I may not have anywhere else to go. It's like I may have to live there, or I may have to sleep there. Like some things you have to get out. If there's asbestos in the house, you gotta go.
Yeah.
Like if there's little things that could be hazardous, you gotta go. If there's a carbon monoxide issue, you gotta go. But like some stuff is like, all right, I'm redoing the bathroom. I can still use the bathroom downstairs.
Yeah.
I go to down the street around the corner. Like they got a restaurant, they let me use the bathroom kind of thing. Like I may be in a place where I'm comfortable in my surroundings. However, I still recognize that there's work to be done.
Yeah. What about you? What do you think on that?
Man, I love that point. I was just thinking about the comfort space, right? Sometimes things need to be deconstructed or even reconstructed, but you're so comfortable where you are, you're frozen and you're stuck.
That's good.
You know what I mean? Because the comfort zone is exactly that. You've been in the space, you know yourself, but you're comfortable there. If you're not in a solid group of people around you, if your village or your tribe, as I like to call them, isn't solid and they're not going to push you to drive you to better yourself, you can be complacent. I know a group of brothers doing the same thing they used to do when we was in college.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're complacent. Good brothers, all working, families, but they still doing a lot of the same things we used to do when we was in college. I love y'all, but that's not my space anymore.
Yep.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's something we'll tackle as the show goes on.
Absolutely.
Talk about growth and friendships.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's not necessarily a bad thing
Right.
for those that are willing to stay in that space.
Mhm.
But it's not a bad thing that you outgrew that space
Yeah.
either.
Not at all. Not at all. But let's take a detour real quick.
Yeah.
I want to touch back on something that Cordell said when he was talking about the foundation. So I have another question here is what does your foundation mean to you? Let me get started with KJ this time. What's the foundation mean to you, KJ?
I mean, for me, it's basically it's your base. And I mean, like, you know, like you have to like it's the part that no one sees.
Yep.
And having to be able to like make sure that the part that no one sees is strong
Mhm.
because it counts for naught if you have a weak foundation with a bunch of pretty stuff on top.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like, great, we just put beautiful counters in here. We put all this amazing stuff. And, like, I mean, we got the newest floors fresh out of somebody's Home Depot and all this beautiful stuff. And, I mean, look at the fixtures. I mean, like, when the realtor walks us through this, we're going to love this house.
Yeah.
Right.
And then when the wind blows, this thing is going to be done.
Yeah. I get it.
Like, yep.
Yeah. So it's funny that you say that, because I just had some work done at my house, right? I just had my driveway redone, right? And there were so many steps that went in before they laid the asphalt down on
Not
top.
just
You know
the
what I'm saying?
not
It was
just
it was
pouring
a,
the
it was a
concrete.
2J project, and it wasn't just getting rid of the old driveway that was there. You know what I mean? They brought down big rock, they tamped it down, they hit it with water, they put a little mortar on top of it. I'm like, oh, I didn't know they
All
was
that
they was
went
they was
into
doing
it.
all
Right,
that.
right.
Okay, they came with another dump truck. I'm like, yo, they just left with a dump truck. Now they got like gravel. It's a different kind of stone. You know what I'm saying? But all of that stuff is sitting on underneath. You know what I'm saying? The asphalt, right? And if they didn't lay that down straight, if they didn't grade it properly, the water's not going to run off in the right direction.
Yeah.
They did a lot of work to prepare for what was left on the surface, right? But what would they have done if they didn't do all that work, right? And you've seen people who got cracks in their driveway. They got the tar
Right,
lines in
right,
it where
right.
everything's cracking
Yeah.
and grass is growing through it. But when you do the job right the first time, you invest
Love it.
Yeah.
in so many things that's not seen.
Bro,
You know what I mean? And I think that's why the foundation is so important, because everything is going to live on top of that foundation.
So
right?
so if you spiritually take what you just said, like, yo, think about a person just not doing all the steps. Like, so it's like, okay, like, I go to church on Sunday, it's cool,
Right.
but you don't pray.
Right.
You don't read your Bible. You don't
Right.
like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not doing what it takes to cultivate your relationship with God. But you know what I mean? Like, you're doing the part that everybody sees.
Mhm.
Right.
You're doing to go to church.
Right. And to be honest, it's what a lot of people do. Like, it's not even like this is some far-fetched idea. Like, I don't think people recognize, to your point, how important your foundation is. Like, because reality is everything sits on top of this. Everything, if I want to build a 3-story home, it's going to sit on the foundation. And it has to be able to withstand the weight of all 3 stories occupied. Because it's not even just like, all right, I put up sheetrock, I put on floors, I put on the roof. Like, all right, we cool. Like, nah, I'm going to want furniture in there. I'm going to want a couch. I want chairs. I want tables. I want beds. Maybe I want a pool table. Like, there's going to be all types of stuff that you fill the house with. So what my foundation has to be able to withstand is whatever that I put in the house and whatever I plan to put in the house, which is huge, because that means, I got to think so far ahead that, like, I got to figure out that what can I use to build this?
Yeah.
What kind of materials do I need that are going to be strong enough to sustain what I'm trying to do? Like, when we talk about your foundation, like, we talk about praying, we talk about fasting, we talk about reading the word. Why do we do these things? So when we get to places where we need the foundation to kind of stand strong, when I get to a place where somebody's asking me a question about my faith, when I get to a place when I'm talking to someone who is curious or somebody who's combative, how do I react? Is my foundation strong enough to say, okay, they're just curious?
Yeah.
They're not actually trying to be belligerent. They're not trying to attack me. They have questions, but everyone keeps mulling over their questions. Everyone keeps kind of skimming over them. So now they're a little frustrated. Am I able to kind of be patient and be gracious and be merciful and say, what, I understand you're not actually yelling at me, but you're passionate about this response because you've been thinking about this. Can my foundation stand when it's tried by earthquakes, when it's tried by running water? The Bible talks about a man who builds his house on sand. The waves come and it crashes. It takes the whole house. But a man who builds his house on stone or a rock is secure, is safe. Because we have to pay attention to these things. Somebody who builds their house in a place where it's secure, they pay attention to the surroundings.
And that's what I wanted to bring up, is the elements of where you build your house. Right? Because soil is important when it comes to building your house.
Right.
You can't build your house, you can't lay the foundation
just anywhere.
in anywhere.
Right.
And I think about that even when it pertains to foundation, because we know in certain neighborhoods, wherever you build, the value of your property goes up based on where you lay the foundation.
Very true.
If I'm laying my foundation in the hood, the property value is not, I don't care how big you build the house, the value of the home is not going to be as if you build it in certain neighborhoods.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So it's very important to think about where you establish and where you lay your foundation. That goes along the y'all wasn't here for this conversation. That goes along though, where we talk about planting seeds and things like that, right? Because that's something that we need to train our young men is like, listen, you want to be in a relationship? Think about it. You're about to lay a foundation with someone, and that might not be the right place where you want to lay that foundation.
We have to go back to that one. That
Yes.
was good.
That's off camera. We'll get there though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't
that's
worry,
dope. That's dope. I like that. I like that whole aspect of it. Got another question here. Let me get back to my questions. So let's get away a little bit from the physical and let's talk about the interpersonal, right?
Okay.
So where are you in your process? As Cordell had started to state, someone may look at him and see him in the form that he is now, but that's not the form that he was before. And he's always in the process of building and getting better. So where do we find ourselves currently in the process?
For me, I think it's always a remodeling. I think because as I learn more, something getting knocked down. As
That's
I
good.
keep progressing, I might need more space. You know what I mean? I'm adding another room. So to me, it's never ending. And so if I'm using an analogy of a foundation or a roof, I'm a complete house, and there's always constant renovation. So I don't even know where I am at the moment. You know what I mean? But it's always one of those areas where I'm willing to renovate anything. And I love the fact that I have accountability partners. I love that fact because you might see, you got termites in here, bro.
Right.
And that's why I can, be able to correct what needs to be fixed. So that's kind of where I am in my process.
I would say that I'm building my foundation. Close to finalizing it, but definitely building my foundation. You know what I mean? Like there's some things, like I won't get into every single intricate part of my personal life of things I want to shore up, but there's a lot of things that I feel like, spiritually I'm coming to a place where I want to be. I'm understanding more and more who I'm becoming. When it becomes like my balance between the spiritual me and the physical me, and all these things and just things I want to improve and all that.
Yeah. For me, I don't even think I'm there yet, to be honest with you. I feel like in the space that I am, if I'm using an analogy, I just found a plot of land. And right now I'm just clearing the land. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I'm just clearing the space so that I can see it, right? Do I want to be in the left quadrant, the right quadrant? Do I want it right in the middle? I don't know. Right now I just got too many trees and too many things around for me even know where I want to place my foundation right now. And then I don't even know how God is going to continue to use me. Am I building a high rise? Am I building a double decker?
Right.
I don't know what size foundation I need to build at this point. I don't know how deep I need to set the footings for how high it's going to go.
Right.
You know what I mean? So right now I'm just kind of clearing the land, but I definitely found the property. You know what I mean?
That's good, that's good.
I know where I want to live, and I know how I
Yeah,
think I
it's
want it to
beautiful.
look, but I'm not even ready to start building yet. Right now I'm still just clearing the land.
It's
I like
beautiful.
that. I like that. I'm in a place of like everyday living. So like my house is up, and I'm living there. I'm there, but I'm also looking at some things that need to be deconstructed. Looking at some things that need to be strengthened, maybe replaced altogether, or maybe just, all right, I need to put like not like a Band-Aid job, because I don't like Band-Aid jobs, but just like, all right, cool. Like, do I need to change the plumbing? Like, is this sufficient? So basically, like, because with my life, it's things that I've learned that I feel like, all right, this was good for then. And now I have a deeper understanding of this. So with that deeper understanding, I understand how this works now, or I have a better understanding of how this works. So like I can try to shore up some things, but also like, all right, these things don't actually match So like these furniture doesn't actually match the aesthetic I'm going for. So I may be changing some things out because I'm like, all right, this is good for this area or this section, but I don't really like how it meshes with everything else. So I'm basically just in a place where I'm kind of being very reflective, deconstructing some things, and it's just kind of like everyday living, just kind of picking my spots.
Man, I love that we're in such different places, but we're still all here, man. Like the tribe is fire because we're accountability partners for each other, right? But we're in different places. So I think that for me, being in a place where I'm just clearing the land, there's so much that I can glean from the rest of y'all. You know what I'm saying? Because you're everyday living, you're remodeling. I don't even have my house up yet. So there's so many things that you guys know that I don't even know yet. You know what I'm saying? You're building your foundation, right? You've already cleared the land. You know where you want to be. You're already setting your footings down. You know what I mean? But you still haven't got a contractor just yet to start building up the walls. You know what I'm saying? So
and I got a detour. I mean, I think it's funny you say that because I think we'd all view each other in different spaces than we view ourselves.
Absolutely.
Because I wouldn't view you the way you viewed yourself. You know what I mean? Like all the things we talk about and the things I know, like, man, like according to those steps of clearing the land, like I'm like, bro, like there's things that you motivate and inspire me to do regularly. Like, you know what I mean? Like as our relationship has grown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, wow, like, you know what I mean? But I think when you answer the question, I think we all can be our toughest critic because we're looking at the area that we desire to repair most.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
there's a lot of things that I wouldn't put you necessarily in the space that you put yourself in. I would say that you're way further ahead, like, you know what I mean, and been blessed going forward.
I respect that. I've definitely been blessed, but I respect that perspective. I appreciate it.
I think the perception is just different. I think for me, like I think for you, I think it's more so like you had a house and now you want a new house. Like I think that's where I feel like you're at. Because like we have conversations here and stuff like that. But like from the way you speak and the jewels that you have, like the things that you have on the inside of you, like that we can see and that we get to hear or that we're blessed to hear. It feels there's so much experience in it. So that's why I feel like you had a house and you're just like, I don't really like this one. Like I like some of this stuff. Right. I like some of this stuff, but some of this stuff, like I feel like I could improve. So
if I'm being honest with myself, I can see that perspective. But if I would describe it for myself, I would say that I had a catastrophic event happen and my house was demolished.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was destroyed and it was
God,
taken. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
so that happened. So I can see why you're saying like I'm creating something new, and I definitely see it in that way as well. And it makes sense that I'm like clearing the land to build something fresh from that perspective. You know
That's
what I mean?
not bad. Yeah. That's not a bad idea. I think there's nothing wrong with. I think sometimes though God will knock those houses down.
Absolutely.
Only because I feel like from my perspective, I've been in circumstances where I thought I was in the right place. Just using the church for example, we made it. I'm at the greatest church. And this is the end all be all. And then I realized God was like, after a while, I was like, I hate this house. And everything about it gets on my nerves.
Right. That's
and
real.
Now I'm just being honest, but now it's time for a relocation. But when I get to the new house, I learn to appreciate what I had.
Right.
Ooh. Like I was at that old house and I'm like, but then I learned so much from,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Now I realized I didn't actually hate it. It was just time for me to move on. But I kept everything that I learned because at the new house, I will be able, I know, my house has so many leaks in it like last time, bro. I know how to fix plumbing now.
Right.
I got skills. I got so many tools in my new house that I only use one time.
Right.
Because, when you're a homeowner, you got to fix those problems. Bro, YouTube is my best friend because I got to learn how to do things myself. So there's not so many bad things in the destruction of one, but also coming into a new.
I think that also shows preparation, though. Because I know what it's supposed to look like, because I've had it before, because I've accumulated these things, like I understand that there's value in these tools. Because like for real, like what happens is people get a new house and a lot of people don't buy tools. They get tools as a present. Somebody gives tools as a gift. Hey, you got a new house, you're gonna need these tools. And they go, oh, well, I don't really know how to use these. I don't really know what to do with these. That's why I didn't buy any tools. And they get these tools and then they understand the value after they have to use them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the beauty of it, of the deconstruction, but also like, because there's also pain in deconstruction.
Yeah, it is.
Because I don't want to always tear down what I built up.
Yeah.
Because I like the thing I built. I may have enjoyed it. It may have been something that I found comfort in, to your point. Like it may have been something that was my safe place, right? But then understanding that this space is too small.
You know, one thing you said in the key is the small word, and I think in our spiritual walk, this is where we mess up.
Mhm.
I built.
Good point.
When we build it, it is going to fall.
Absolutely.
Period. What God builds won't fall.
Right.
Because the job is to conform us to Jesus.
Right.
But sometimes, like you said the other day, my ego, you know what I mean? Like, let me go.
Yeah.
The word in between that is ego. You know what I mean? It's like
right.
what I try to build, it's going to fall. And the Bible is clear. Let him complete the work that he started in you.
Correct.
Right.
He'll start something
He'll work it to completion.
and he will. But what happens is we allow him to start something and then you be like, God, I got this.
You hit him with the, I see what you're doing. I can do that part.
I could do that too. You know
I
what I
can
mean?
do
And
it.
then next thing you know, look, you right back where you started. You know what I mean? So I think it's important for us to allow God to do the work that's in us, but it's going to hurt.
Man, I like that. I like that. I'm going to start to wrap this episode up. So what are some key components that came out of this conversation?
Ooh. Summaries. I like what Cordell had said about understanding the process of deconstructing, understanding that just because I'm deconstructing something, there's still beauty in it. Like understanding that there's still some value to the thing that I felt like I had to give it up to get the new thing, but it still was valuable. And I can still take pieces that I learned with me as I go to the new place. So that was beautiful.
That's dope. KJ, final thoughts?
I mean, for me, I would just say that it's important to know that it's okay to be in the process, and it's okay to be self-aware enough to know that you need help.
Absolutely.
That'll be my takeaways
Nice.
for this part.
One thing I think about when moving on to it, leaving. When I bought my new house, I was so ready to move out of my old house. But when the house was empty, I had a fresh press moment.
Ooh.
Remember at the end of the last
for sure.
episode when Will was like, all the memories, like I was like, I wanted to move out of here. I outgrown it, but I've been here for the last 8 years. And when I left, when I was leaving and the house was empty, I was happy to leave, but it was a bittersweet feeling because I built something here.
Right.
And I think that it's okay to move on, but it's also okay to remember what you had. You know,
That's
Man,
good. That's
dope.
good.
What
dope.
about you, Cuzzo?
Man, I liked the foundation, you know, I like the process of deconstructing and then being into reconstruction. All of it, I feel like the conversation was dope, but even like the seeing things from different perspectives, because the house that you were ready to move out of, somebody was willing to move right
in.
into.
Mhm.
You know what I'm
They
saying?
bought it.
And the house that you moved into, somebody couldn't wait to get out of there.
Yep.
So the perspective
Perspective.
shifts depending
Right.
on where you are and where
Amen.
you are
Your
in that
process,
place.
yeah. That's
You know
good.
what I mean? So that's where we're going to leave it. Join us next week for part 2. We're going to continue this conversation. Let's get it.
peace.
I'm working on the building